video games that have transcended into the silver screen, and we all know that for the most part, they're basically all Oscar-worthy masterpieces.
By all means.
I'll never forget being a wide-eyed young child coming out of that movie theater after Super Mario Brothers the movie.
Oh, Jesus.
Seeing the poster where it said, "This ain't no game." And even at that young age thinking, what the fuck was that?
An 8-year-old coming out of the theater young, what kind of piece of shit was that?
It's like reading the review for Superman 64 in Electronic Gaming Monthly all over again. So what do you guys think about video games and movies? Which ones have worked, which one hasn't? I know that, Assassin's Creed is coming out. Are you guys pumped for that? I'm not a big Assassin's Creed player, so I don't even know the story behind that game series. But what do you guys think?
I'm excited to see that one. I don't think I ever fully played through one of the games, but the gameplay was fun. The environments were fun. The underlying story was pretty cool, and the fact that they actually incorporated that into what we saw in the trailer with the Animus machine was. I think this is the kind of game that lends itself to a movie.
Yeah.
Some of the others, like, it's kind of hard to get like a side scroller, jumper shooter Super Mario to really translate into a
Street Fighter wasn't a great movie.
Whoa! No one's digging on the Van Damme masterpiece that was Street Fighter.
Because when you think M. Bison, you think the dad of the Addams Family.
No. I didn't even know that that's what the Assassin's Creed games were about. I just thought it was some guy that seems to fly around like he's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and kill people with knives and stuff, and it was very fluid, but I never really, just watching it was never very appealing to me. It just didn't look like something that was for me. But so it's about like one guy that lives through life cycles?
It's essentially, it's about lineage. So Michael Fassbender, he's probably going to be, I'm assuming he's going to be Desmond, unless they rename that character. But essentially it's an order of assassins that's been working throughout history, and he is a descendant of them. And the purpose of the Animus machine, in addition to kind of, showing him lifting and flipping and doing all this stuff, it's a way for him to actually tap into his ancestors' memories.
Okay.
So essentially that's the premise of the game, and why you're actually, even though it's based on in 2012, you're playing a character back in the 16th, 15th, 14th century.
Yeah.
But it's very open worldy, very action oriented.
Is it open world? I thought it was really linear. I haven't played it, so I don't know that. It's really open.
You have choices on how you want to play it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not fully open world. It's not Grand Theft Auto by no means. Mm-hmm. But you have decisions on how you want to play it. It's almost like it falls in that Splinter Cell type of thing.
Okay.
Where you can play it covert, you can play it a little over the top. I guess in regards to it, I'm in your kind of thing where I never made it through the games. Mm-hmm. Played them a little bit. Now, from what I've seen from the trailer, it is following that quite a bit, the actual original game. But the games were pretty cinematic themselves.
Yeah.
So I think it does really lend itself well to a movie. And Michael Fassbender is a great actor.
Yeah. They got a good
really
cast
like
for this. It looks like the production quality is good, so...
it's going to be interesting kind of see how it goes. Thereh been a lot of flops for video game movies lately.
A lot of flops.
Yeah.
That's why
I'm thinking Doom.
Yeah.
It's like... But, again, you're right. That was a first-person shooter, and they try to turn it into a movie. So...
Even with... don't get me wrong, with Fassbender and who's that girl actress? She was in Inception, and...
I hate that lady.
You don't like her? I think she's amazing.
I do not like her.
Oh.
She was in the third Batman movie, too.
Yep. Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
But,
I'm
with
not
these,
a huge fan of that actress.
With these high-caliber people in it, though, it gives me more faith than normal, but still... This isn't like a... Yeah, we'll see, but it's still... This is stronger than that. Yeah, but it's a video game movie. And they seem to always blow this. So I know that I'm the guy that always says story first. Well, let's see how they do with that, because I think that's what this entire thing is going to rest on. Is the story.
Well, what do they have? They have 4 Assassin's Creed? Is it 3 or 4?
I know at least 3. I don't know if I want to say 4 too.
I want to... If it hasn't come out, it's like just pre-release.
Yeah, I think
maybe it's waiting for...
It is 4.
I think we saw something in the Video Game Awards.
Are you pumped to see this movie, though?
No. It's a video game movie is why.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about the video game movies and the genre. I mean, think about this last year. Warcraft came out, $300 million budget, and it just flopped.
Well, that can be argued. It flopped here. Worldwide, it made a shitload of money. In fact, they're even talking sequel now because worldwide it made, like, what was it, 700-800 million?
I think it was a movie that was made 7 years too late.
Yeah.
You got to think about when Warcraft was at its height.
Yeah.
It was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not now. But no, I made a list here. As a kid, I remember seeing Double Dragon. What a crappy movie. Love Mark Dacascos, but the movie was
Did they have
crap.
like that guy in there from Party of Five?
Yeah. I can't. I don't even know what his name is. Yeah. So,
or
but
no,
then
was that Dungeons and Dragons? What was that, Double Dragon?
That was Dungeons and Dragons. That had Jeremy Irons. But no, then you got games like Max Payne. I remember playing that on the original Xbox all the way through. And it was a dark, gritty, good game. A lot of drug use, though, in it. Dark content. But the movie sucked. Another Mark Wahlberg flop there. And it's like, thanks for wrecking Transformers 2. Well, and then you had games like Prince of Persia.
I like that movie.
With Jake Gyllenhaal.
I didn't think that was bad.
It just didn't have the appeal, though.
Yeah.
And the same thing like Resident Evil. I've liked the Resident Evil movies. Some of them, I should say. But they just kept making them.
Yeah.
Like, why?
What are they on to now? Like, isn't the next one coming out called
This is like 7 or 8.
Yeah. I only saw part of one of them. And after that, I was like, it's like, don't get me wrong. I didn't think it was bad. It wasn't great. I didn't think it was bad. I just had no desire to. I like the Resident Evil games. I love playing them. I watched this and I was like, yeah, Mila Jovovich, actioning it up. Cool. Not for me.
But, I mean, there's been, Agent 47, Silent Hill, Hitman. All those are those are good games to play, but the movies just sucked. And then, like, my ultimate is Tomb Raider. And maybe it's because they cast Angelina Jolie as the lead.
That movie sucked.
Yeah, well, of course they sucked because that had Angelina Jolie in it.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember even the first one. I didn't see the second one. Maybe I should have given that a chance. But the first one, watching some of the, because I don't have a problem with Angelina Jolie. It was funny when they obviously increased her size dramatically of her breasts, and you're like, that looks so fake.
She doesn't even have it anymore.
Yeah, it's so funny. But watching some of the special effects just looked so out of place. It was that whole. It just took you out of it when they're like racing up towards the pyramid, towards that end goal that they're shooting for at the end of the movie. I'm like, this looks like crap. This looks like, a cheesy movie from the 70s when you throw in these special effects. Why did you go to the trouble of this huge marketing promotion and all this money and this budget and get Angelina Jolie if you're going to tap out in the 5 or 6 really cool special effects you're going to throw in the movie? But I don't know. What else? There's got to be at least one good video game movie that came out.
I don't know. Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
Not a good movie, but I liked it.
As a kid, I liked it.
Because it was a Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah.
Wing Commander.
I don't know. Meat for Speed.
Commander. Freddie
Wing
Prinze
Commander
Jr.
sucked. I'm trying to think if there's been a really good one.
Need for Speed, was that any good?
I didn't see it. I didn't. All the reviews, the critical reviews, were not positive. Did not do well commercially either.
Yeah, I do remember Mario Brothers though.
John Leguizamo.
And the thing is that was the American version of the movie. Like 4 years or 3 years before that, there was a Japanese release of a different Mario Brothers movie.
I was going to say it must have been different.
It was like a remake.
Please tell me that they cast Japanese guys as Italian plumbers.
They may have. Might be worth looking up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because Street Fighter was a gem. I mean, that was
but no, just think, rack your mind. What is the best video game to movie, like video game adaptation into a movie?
I'm trying to think of all the ones that you just said. The answer would be none of them.
Pixels?
I like Prince of Persia. I thought that they could have... I was hoping for a sequel with that one. I just thought it was cool. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal did a good job. I liked the whole story of the sand going back through time. I don't think they did enough special effects with that to really get people in to be like, whoa, that was cool. It was in there, but it wasn't in strong enough to really gut punch you into wanting to see it. The Pokemon movies have done very well commercially. So,
but they're
live
animated,
action,
though.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Pixels?
God. Oh, I was so pissed when I saw that.
It's the Dinklage. How can you hate on the Dinklage?
I even like most of Adam Sandler's movie, and I watched that, and I'm just like, this is just retarded.
You know, the scary thing is there's a whole bunch more of these being made.
Yeah.
Like in pre-production.
Do you guys count Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within? Because that was cool, all CGI. I remember that.
I'm thinking.
No, because it doesn't have real actors.
Yeah.
Well, it's got Alec Baldwin, Ming-Na Wen.
But
think
about here's some of the ones that I've picked out.
People.
These are ones that are in pre-production.
They made that. That's
BioShock.
Do you remember they made Dead or Alive?
Yes.
Oh, I want to see that now. That's what I'm going to be watching. They made a Far Cry
pre-production.
Movie? Yeah.
BioShock, which is a pretty spooky game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys get it? Do you guys play any BioShock?
Nope. Seen
it's
it.
one of those games in that series that I really want to get back into because I've heard it's just so awesome. I'm just hoping I didn't miss the zeitgeist. That now if I play in it, it's going to feel dated. But they've got remasters, so I'm sure it'll be good. But that's
the whole game, though. I mean, it's like kind of this utopia that ended in the 50s. Then they were like underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, it kind of has that nostalgic aspect. But they got BioShock, Call of Duty, Borderlands. You guys play any Borderlands? That's a really good game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and
that one they could do. That could be a
yeah. I mean,
nice,
that's I mean, I think with
campy.
the right writers, they could do a good job with it.
Oh yeah.
Because visually, it's a great game.
Oh yeah, and even like style, as far as characters. I mean, it kind of falls into that genre really easily. As far as these over the top, more or less crazy people. I mean, whatever character you're playing as, they've got a backstory to them. There's hilarity in the game. There's a lot of obviously gratuitous violence, but that could hit all the right notes as far as kind of making like a fun, bang bang shoot 'em up movie.
That's just it. They'd have to make it fun.
Yeah.
God, man, you've depressed me. I literally thought there was at least a handful of good ones out there. They just missed the mark 95% of the time. But looking through this huge list, the only movie that I think was well done, and we can agree to disagree on whether or not the movie was good or not, but financially it did make quite a bit of money. I think Warcraft is the best video game to movie adaptation that I think was done really well. I liked it. Yeah. I like the fact that they took a chance and they actually gave giant ogres compassionate backstories and showed the family thing that may be hard to relate to. I don't know. I like the way it was done. I totally get why it was lost on an American audience because I'm not even a big Warcraft player. I've never played World of Warcraft. The last Warcraft I played probably was with you in college when we played Warcraft 3 on our PCs.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was done really well. Like by the end of that movie, I cared about characters that I had no idea who they were. So that would be my take. What about you guys?
Oh, and that one, yeah. I mean,
your favorite?
My favorite. Jesus, that's like. Which is the least
should be easy out of all this crap.
That's just it. What's the least offensive piece of crap?
Put your hand down in the bucket, pull out the turd that you think looks the least shitty.
Can I just be projecting out and I'm hoping that the movie that they're making based off that old NES game Rampage turns out really well.
The Rock doing that?
I hope so.
My God.
Yes. Yes.
What are you worried about at this point?
Can you imagine being the guy that has to sell that movie in the studio?
Yeah.
At this point, they're out of ideas. It can't be that hard. You got a guy working at McDonald's the day before. He's like, here's my movie I'm pitching.
I got this concept. It's called Paperboy.
Yeah, it's just the kid riding his bike down the street and he throws papers.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be so fucking cool if they actually threw that trailer in right after right as the preview before we see a new Star Wars movie and they're like, Paperboy, Extreme.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? What game would you guys like to see made into a movie?
Zelda.
Really?
Yep. I would love to see. Now, let me asterisk this because I never say this. With a very good story. and a great director that is and a cinematographer that can film this right and hit the beats correctly, because there's such a vast there's recurring themes that happen throughout the games, from the Master Sword to this, that, and the other, but there's so many different incarnations through the timeline. I think probably one of the most well-known or the most well-beloved is the Ocarina of Time, timeline. I would love to see an orchestral score for a movie audience of the Zelda theme. I would love to hear the tones, like whether you call it magic or whatever, that da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, when they're in a cavern and stuff. Maybe even it would be better as a Pixar-type CGI type of thing. I don't care. I would love to see that on the big screen, though.
No, I since you said Zelda, I mean, I have to say that that's one I could definitely see. I mean, I remember how immersive Ocarina of Time was, and it was like the first time that game was wide open.
Yeah.
So I could totally see something around that. If you did have a good story, and you could center it around Link, I think you could come out with a good movie from that.
Yeah. The reason I say Zelda and not Metroid is, I would love to see. I mean, Metroid's got all the sci-fi elements that would make it easy as a reason to be up on screen, right? Samus Aran, woman, awesome hero. Metroid Prime, showing how stuff that it can look in a more realistic version of the Metroid mythology. That would be cool, but I just don't think there is a big enough audience for it.
He wears a helmet.
Huh?
That's a problem.
I think there's ways you can
It's
get
hard
around
to
that.
connect with a character that wears a helmet.
Simple,
like
whenever
the
stuff
Guyver.
slows down, da-da-da-da-da, this part opens. That's an easy workaround. I just don't think that they could ever do it right, because if they were going to do this, it would have to be like, $150 million budget to have up on screen what we would like to see as fans, and I don't think there are enough Metroid fans to do that. Metroid's a great game for Nintendo, but it is not the big seller that Mario and Zelda is. So if you're going to make a $150 million movie, you need to have the mass audience appeal. And when people are like, what the hell is Metroid? And they see on the poster Samus Aran, and they're like, that's a Metroid? I'm like, no, Metroid is the floaty brain looking with, thorns that's going to dig into. I mean, I don't think there's enough recognition for them to warrant making that a big budget live screen movie the way it was. That's why I stick with Zelda. Well, what would you guys like to see?
I'd like to see him try Megaman on the big screen. I mean, as far as the settings involved, it's again, it's futuristic,
like live action, or what? Do you mean?
Yeah, no, that was what I was posing. I mean, as far as the movies we like to have made, because you could kind of work in those elements. It is a likable character and a bunch of characters. You could just you could go a couple different ways with it as far as kind of how you want to do it. It's not just him jumping after this guy, and then after this guy, and then after this guy. There's a way to kind of incorporate, the elements of it as far as kind of like a one guy versus an army.
I obviously, being a Mega Man fan, would love to see that. And normally I would have said, yeah, but in Mega Man there's no real story. You just go to guy, you kill guy, you get weapon, you go to the next guy, and that's basically the formula that's worked over and over.
They've added some pretty decent ones, like particularly like one of the things that happened like later on in the series, especially the X series, was just the incorporation of Zero.
Oh yeah,
and
don't get me wrong, the story got better. And I guess what I was going to say, my argument to that was, doesn't matter, they could come up with one. Look what they did with the Lego movie. I thought there was no way in hell that you're going to have a Lego movie be an Oscar-worthy movie. And holy shit, that story was awesome. And it incorporated Legos. I can't believe that they did that. They just came out of nowhere. So as long as you get a good screenwriter and come up with a good story, I would love to see that. I think that'd be great. What about you?
With me, probably Last of Us. I think it kind of aids itself so well to being a movie.
Well, that is in development. Neil, the director, is actually even involved with it.
Oh, I didn't realize it was.
Yep.
Because I just, even like the original, like the first one, you have the guy, you have Ellie. I can't remember the guy's name, but I loved playing that game. And it wasn't just the gameplay; it was the story. The story drove that game so much that I think it would lend itself really well to that. And you have a huge market right now with The Walking Dead, and it's one of those markets, unfortunately, that just drying up a little bit because people are getting away from it. But I kind of see that is if you could get it in a theater soon enough, I think you could have a
well,
decent
since
movie
they're
from
working
that.
on the sequel too, they could time that really well. I guess obviously The Last of Us would be, if there were Oscars for video games, The Last of Us would have got it. I mean, it's probably the best video game to come out in the last generation, period. I don't think anything really gets close to quality. And you're right, the story is so freaking awesome. I agree with the pluses on that. I guess my thing is it was done so well in the experience and it got such a big following. Do you just translate that to the theater and then watch it all over again? Or you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see
How
something.
do you bring something new to it?
Yeah, I'd like to see that world, but how about different intertwining characters?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, because I think one of the it's a catch-22. I think one of the reasons a lot of people, and obviously it's in production, so they're working on it, or at least pre-production. It hasn't been greenlit, but they are working on pre-production for it. Obviously, one of the reasons they want to make in the movie is the game story was so good. But then my argument is, yeah, but it was so good, I don't think it needs to be retold up there. Because anybody that saw the game, or that played the game, is probably going to go see it. And yeah, maybe. I mean, if it was that good, maybe it's good enough to get an audience that wasn't into the game to come see it. I just don't know if it needs it. The performances were so good. Let them be where they are. You know, let that exist and now do something else in that world that ties even into it. I mean, imagine seeing a story that was just as compelling that intertwined with what happened in the same universe, and they watch that and say, oh, by the way, here's a game. And no, it intertwines with what you saw, but this story is also unbelievably awesome that actually even brings them into the video game world. I don't know. I can totally see why you say that, though, too. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is something that having it on the screen could bring potentially. It's because, again, doing a direct translation from the console to the film, that just kind of makes me think of, not on the video game side, I guess, but on the graphic novel side of what they did with Watchmen. And how, you know, you have this incredible comic, and when you have a director that essentially just did a shot for shot of that and just reproduced on the screen, you look at it and I'm like, yeah. I mean, you took this incredible, great story material, and essentially you kind of just carbon copied it and threw it on the screen, and that would, you know, that's okay. But that's all it was. Though. It was just okay. You would be taking a little bit of a risk because if the creators wanted to take some artistic license, you're kind of playing with fire because you have something that's really tried and true. But that's not to say that there isn't something new that they could provide in the story. That, you know, that story pans a long time. Mm-hmm. That game pans a long time. There is opportunity to explore areas that we never saw. Ellie and God damn, what is his name?
It's another reason that just makes me so nervous about it, because it was so almost like perfect the way it was to shorten that into a 90-minute movie. With the track record that Hollywood's had for this stuff, I mean, at least the fact that Neil's involved with it, that gives me hope. You know, the director from the game.
Yeah.
But shortening, if it does anything to, I really see it being hard to match the experience you had playing that game.
So if we break it out, the flow, the original story on the game, I'm assuming they're going to start with the outbreak. They'll jump to Boston. They would then transition to the break out of Boston, and then the small city where the two guys, you know, one of them was Ellie's age, he gets infected, and then they move out because it's going to be just a story of them just trying to find Tommy,
right?
And then being redirected to the Firefly hideout. So a lot of the elements in the game, depending on where you wanted to put your focus, you could actually put everything in there within a good 90 minutes and
streamline it
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the game too, it's, you know, it's
just waiting.
It's I mean, it's engaging, but we don't need to see 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes of exploring, you know, this abandoned city or this university or this wooded area. I mean, if we just want to kind of stick with story elements. But that being said, that also leaves some open time to kind of explore other areas, like, you know, meeting other people, or just kind of, you know, delving into their relationship a little bit more than what we're able to see. Even though that's a huge part of it, and they already did do a really good job of that in the game. But I think there is enough. There's enough. I'll call it wiggle room to kind of make something good out of it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think that's definitely got the best. All the right ingredients to make a good recipe out of that. So, and you might get your wish, because again, that's in pre-production. We'll see if it actually gets greenlit and comes to theaters too. Mm-hmm. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think? What video game movies really strike your memory, good or bad? And what would you like to see? Let us know in the comments below.